Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Liberal Loudmouth. Today, I'd like to try and answer the question, is Elon Musk a Nazi? Prior to today, I would have said, no, he's not a Nazi, he's just an opportunist. He likes to think of himself as extremely important, and he wants to stick his nose in everywhere that he can. But after uncovering some information, my stance on that question may have just changed a wee little bit. So stick around and let's take a look at why it's a little bit more difficult to answer the question, is Elon Musk a Nazi? Let's dig in. All right, so let's first take a look at what Elon's dad said about Elon's mother and her grandparents.
A slightly heavier built girl.
Okay.
And actually what happened was we broke up when she was in final year and no, wait a minute, when we were going out.
Yeah.
She still going out. I didn't get, her parents, by the way, were very fanatical in favor of apartheid. This is quite interesting. Her parents came to South Africa from Canada because they sympathized with the Afrikaner government.
Okay.
They used to support Hitler and all that sort of stuff. But they didn't know, obviously, I don't think they knew what the Nazis were doing.
Right.
But they in Canada, they were in the German party in Canada, and they sympathized with the Germans.
Yeah.
So when the Afrikaners government came into power here in 1948, then May's father, who was quite an interesting guy, he was a very good pilot, he said he wants to be with the Afrikaners because he agrees with apartheid, you see. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And he came out here with his family.
And didn't that cause tension with you because you don't?
Yeah, that caused a lot of tension with me.
Okay, so there is Elon's dad saying that Elon's mother's family moved from Canada to South Africa to take part in apartheid because they agreed with it. Now, this on its own doesn't prove anything, right? Because just because Elon's mom's parents believe something doesn't mean that Elon's mom believes it, and doesn't mean that Elon would believe it either. And Elon's dad goes on to say that he was anti-apartheid and that he had been a part of this organization to get rid of apartheid. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it comes into question with the quote that I'm about to share with you right now. Let's take a look. All right, right here it says, when you come from South Africa, lefties think you're, and this is Elon's dad talking, by the way. When you come from South Africa, lefties think you're a Nazi. To succeed, you need to be accepted by them. So my sons, Elon and younger brother Kimball, a hugely successful restaurateur, started to become these flaming liberals, turning away from South Africa and their roots, which include me. So he's saying that they turned away from me and their roots by becoming flaming liberals. Now, liberals, modern day liberals, and at the time that Elon came over here, which was, and that this will come into play in a moment, this was in 1992 he came to the U.S. In 1989, he went to Canada. At that time, modern liberals were opposed to Nazism, fascism. And then Elon's dad goes on to say, finally, Elon was embracing his heritage and his destiny. Elon's dad goes on to say, Elon used to be such a flaming Democrat, says Errol. That's why my relationship with my sons changed. So despite Errol saying he was anti-apartheid, Elon's dad's relationship with him changed because he became a Democrat, which is historically, or at least over the last 40, 50 years, has been anti-fascist, anti-Nazi. So when Elon becomes this flaming Democrat who would be anti-Nazi, anti-fascist, the dad started to not like it. And then he goes, it started with differences over Donald Trump on my 70th birthday. They came to Cape Town on private jets. These were the people Elon liked to be with, bleeding heart, super leftist people. It was just before the U.S. presidential election, and someone said to Errol, I believe you support Trump. He remembers the answer triggered laughter. He answered, actually, I do. After lunch, she says, both sons were very upset. I've never heard my son Kimball swear, but he swore that day. Are you effing stupid? How can you possibly say that to these people? It was afterwards that Elon gave an interview saying I was evil. He'd been brainwashed into thinking that was the only way he could keep those friends. And now, says Errol, those vocal opponents of Trump will have to pay. People are going to have to answer for what they've done. People? Errol ticks off the list of those incoming administration intended to bring to book. They include just about everybody whom Trump and Elon have crossed swords, from President Biden to Director FBI Christopher Wray and Sir Keir Starmer. You can't deal with people who have declared themselves your outright enemy. Now, there's a couple of more interesting points that I want to make here. Elon was actually named after a Nazi's character in a book. That's right. Elon was the name given to the leaders in this Project Mars book written by Wernher von Braun, who was a Nazi member who then came to the United States through Operation Paperclip, where we would use German scientists and engineers for our own agenda. So despite Wernher von Braun being here and helping the United States, he was actually a Nazi. So here's Errol, who claims that he's opposed to apartheid, naming his son after a character in a book written by a Nazi. He marries a woman whose parents are Nazis, who then travel all the way to South Africa to take part in apartheid, I guess because Canada was just too multicultural and nobody was being oppressed there and they couldn't take part in that. And now Errol is like he's finally getting back to his roots once he has now joined again this Nazi fascist Donald Trump. And I'd like to point one more thing out. Sure, it could be coincidence, but it's just one more checkbox in the is Elon Musk a Nazi? All right, so when did apartheid end? Apartheid ended in 1990. When did Elon Musk move to America? Elon Musk moves to the United States in 1992. Okay, so let's recap for a moment. Elon Musk's grandparents were Nazis. They moved to South Africa to take part in apartheid. The father claims he was anti-apartheid now after the fact, but then gets upset with his son because his son is a flaming liberal who is anti-Nazi and anti-fascist and anti-apartheid. He gets upset with his son about that, and once his son joins with the cabinet of Donald Trump, who is a fascist by the words of his own military people, now Errol loves his son again and says he's finally realized his roots. And also, this is a guy who left South Africa once apartheid ended. So did he leave South Africa because he knew that apartheid was coming to an end? Because technically he left in 1989, a year prior to apartheid ending, and maybe he was like, well, if I can't do it here, I bet you I can find a place to do it there. So I ask you again, is Elon Musk a Nazi? I don't know the answer to that, but it's certainly more unclear now than it was prior to today when I just thought the guy was an opportunist. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comment section below. Did you find this information interesting? Do you think I'm just throwing out coincidences and labeling it as something it's not? Certainly possible. Let me know. This is the Liberal Loudmouth, guys. We will catch you next time. Peace.